watching St. Michael's Journal, the journal of exorcism and all other things that go on in the night. The news media cycle in the age of the internet is fickle, to say the least, but can be understood if one charts this cycle as a curve. You see, stories begin to emerge, not unlike a salacious rumor quietly whispered around the proverbial water cooler in the office. Eventually, the story takes hold and begins to trend. A week or so later, it slowly starts to fade away, only to lurk in relative obscurity. For example, a story we covered last week, that of the rumor that the trendy Labubu dolls are the reincarnation of Pazuzu, the ancient Mesopotamian demon found in folklore from the first millennium BCE, that story is finally winding down. Although most platforms have published something, others are just now incurring the intestinal fortitude to test the waters and publish an account. Weekly publications, such as St. Michael's Journal is trying to be, despite the demands on this writer's time, find themselves at a disadvantage when that particular week's publication is already set in stone and cannot be changed. Then a story breaks, forcing the publication to wait until the next issue to report on the event. We managed to catch the wave, so to speak, writing it at its peak on the Labubu story. But we missed the prime time to report on another story that was breaking late last week, that of the unfortunate passing of the paranormal researcher Dan Rivera. For those of you unfamiliar with Mr. Rivera's career, according to reports, he had been a member of the New England Society of Psychic Research, NESPR, the oldest ghost hunting group in New England, and had worked with Lorraine Warren in the years before her death. The online entertainment news platform E! Begins their article regarding the untimely passing of Rivera with quotes from Jason Hawes, the co-founder of the Atlantic Paranormal Society, TAPS, and one of the stars and co-producers of Ghost Hunters, the popular paranormal series which ran for 11 seasons on Sci-Fi, 2 on A&E, and also on Discovery and the Travel Channel. E! Online reported, Jason Hawes is not letting tragedy become conspiracy. After the Ghost Hunters alum's fellow paranormal investigator Dan Rivera died suddenly at age 54 amid a national tour with the Annabelle doll, a supposedly haunted object that inspired the Conjuring franchise, he slammed theories correlating Rivera's passing with the doll being in his possession. Recently, the world lost a good man, Halls wrote in a July 16th Facebook post. Dan Rivera was an Army veteran, a father of 4, a husband, and someone who truly cared about people. What's even harder to see right now are the posts blaming his death on things like the Annabelle doll. The last several days has seen a flurry of wild reports and speculation regarding Rivera's death and the fact he had been in possession of the reportedly cursed artifact, the Annabelle doll. It should be noted that at the time of this writing, officials have not found any indication of foul play in the death of Rivera, and autopsy findings have not as yet been released. On 17 July, Discern Report published the following article titled, Cursed Doll's Deadly Secret. Paranormal Investigator Drops Dead After Facing Infamous Annabelle. They wrote, Conspiracy theorists are buzzing, and for good reason. Paranormal expert Dan Rivera 54, was found dead in his hotel room just hours after wrapping up a chilling tour featuring the world's most notorious haunted doll, Annabelle. Was this a tragic accident, or did dark forces from beyond finally catch up to him? Sources close to the event are whispering about possible cover-ups, and we're digging deep to uncover the truth. We would certainly understand the family of Rivera taking the position of not releasing the findings of the autopsy protocol, regardless of what it might reveal, as any press release that hinted at Annabelle or other paranormal events contributing to his demise would create a media frenzy and a circus-like atmosphere that would, without doubt, cause further suffering for the survivors. But realistically speaking, no matter the nature of any press release, wild speculation will continue for some time. The Discern report followed with this excerpt. The tour showcased creepy artifacts from NESPR's collection, with Annabelle as the star attraction. If you haven't heard, Annabelle isn't your average Raggedy Ann doll. Back in 1970, a nurse in Connecticut claimed the doll started moving on its own, leaving scary notes, and even attacked her friend. A psychic first thought it was the spirit of a little girl named Annabelle Higgins trapped inside. But famous ghost hunters, Ed and Lorraine Warren, the founders of NESPR, saw through that. They declared that it was no innocent kid's ghost, but an evil demon pretending to be sweet to trick and hurt people. The Warrens yanked the doll out of the home and locked it away in their museum, where it inspired the blockbuster Conjuring movies. Since the museum shut down in 2019, Annabelle only travels under tight NESPR watch. She's never out of our control, NESPR Director Tony Sparrow once said. But could that control have slipped during this tour? Rivera handled the doll up close. Did he stir up something deadly? As I have implied in the past, I think it is wrong for us who have studied the paranormal for some time to be dismissive of those new to this field. Young and old alike are, for many reasons, just now delving into research of the paranormal, if for no other reason than to find answers for the events they have personally experienced. With that premise in mind, let's reiterate who the Warrens are and just what is Annabelle. Turning to Wikipedia, for sake of convenience, we find the following about the Warrens. Edward Warren Minnie, September 7th, 1926 to August 23rd, 2006, and Lorraine Rita Moran Warren, January 31st, 1927 to April 18th, 2019, were American paranormal investigators and authors associated with prominent cases of alleged hauntings. Edward was a self-taught and self-professed demonologist, author, and lecturer. Lorraine professed to be clairvoyant and a light trance medium who worked closely with her husband. In 1952, the Warrens founded the New England Society for Psychic Research, NESPR, the oldest ghost hunting group in New England. They offered many books about the paranormal and about their private investigations into various reports of paranormal activity. They claim to have investigated well over 10,000 cases during their career. The Warrens were among the first investigators in the Amityville haunting. According to the Warrens, the official website of the NESPR, Viviglam magazine, and several other sources, the NSPR uses a variety of individuals, including medical doctors, researchers, police officers, nurses, college students, and members of the clergy in its investigations. The authors of this work detailing the career of the Warrens, who I presume are merely trying to be objective, go on to publish some things about the Warrens and the subject of the paranormal investigations that are not very positive. So please bear with me while I offer some explanation. First, let us agree that it is somewhat of a misnomer to use generalizations such as everyone knows this or that, attempting to portray something as widely known common knowledge, when surprisingly a very large percentage of the people has absolutely no idea. Our culture has come to expect that anything recognized as an encyclopedia is above reproach, offering the most informative and most accurate information on each entry contained therein. However, even with the best encyclopedias, the veracity of the information is only as good as the editor's opinions. In the case of Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia, the use of largely unsupervised editors that are not vetted, the accuracy of the information can be at times highly questionable. You see, anyone can log into the system, create a new entry, or edit an existing one, inserting less than objective opinions or statements that affect the reader's understanding of the subject. Therefore, one has to take what one reads on Wikipedia with a proverbial grain of salt. The excerpt we just read stating that Mr. Warren was a self-taught and self-professed demonologist is in and of itself an attempt to discredit Ed's credentials. However, there is no accredited traditional university that even offers a major or degree program in demonology per se, although such knowledge can be obtained through work in religious studies, history, folklore, and anthropology. But even with multiple degrees in those fields, anyone, not just Ed Warren, would still be self-professed if he or she claimed to be a demonologist. Critics have attempted to discredit the work of the Warrens, claiming them to be guilty of using non-scientific means to arrive at their conclusions. But as we have wrote here in St. Michael's Journal, within the realm of the paranormal, that which we seek to quantify, record, photograph, sample, and create concrete evidence from our studies simply defies our vain human efforts to grasp what is beyond our abilities to understand. As someone who has experienced paranormal events firsthand and worked with others who have had their own experiences, I can say that there are events that do happen. But yet, even with our most highly advanced technology, we simply cannot prove that these things exist. But in the same respect, our technology cannot prove that they don't. With that said, the work of the Warrens has inspired numerous books, movies, and documentaries. So many that we will not list them here, but take my word for it, the Warrens have obtained legendary status. As we previously stated, in 1952 the Warrens founded the New England Society for Psychic Research. Lorraine operated a museum and part of their home housing the various artifacts they collected, many of which were said to be haunted. The museum and its collection were said to have been passed on after Lorraine's death in 2019 to the Warrens' daughter Judy and her husband Tony Sparrow. The museum closed due to zoning issues and concerns about the house being a residential property that was being used for non-residential purposes. The collection has been on tour, being shown at various paranormal conventions and other venues, including the artifact, a Raggedy Ann doll named Annabelle. The story of the doll, which due to the books and movies has become legendary in its own right, begins in 1970 when a 28-year-old nursing student named Donna received a 36-inch Raggedy Ann doll as a gift from her mother. The doll named Annabelle, as depicted in the 2014 American supernatural horror film, is decidedly different in appearance from the doll made famous by the Warrens. Raggedy Ann is a character created by American writer Johnny Gruelle that appeared in a series of books he wrote and illustrated for young children. She is a rag doll, with red yarn for hair, a triangle nose, and a welcoming smile. The character was created in 1915 as a doll and was introduced to the public in the 1918 book Raggedy Ann Stories. Variations of the doll have been produced both commercially and by private artists, as the pattern appears to be somewhat in the public domain. Countless young girls have cherished the Raggedy Ann dolls, and today many remain in the private collections of girls who are at least young at heart. The doll becomes one of those things symbolic of the innocence of childhood, but some claim that even something as cute and lovable as the simple cloth doll can have a dark side as well. One researcher claimed that Raggedy Ann dolls even encouraged violence in children's play. Their softness allowed children to beat, throw, soil, and hang them. The tragic death of Johnny Grill's daughter Marcella at age 13 from diphtheria following a smallpox vaccination led anti-vaccination advocates to claim her death was caused by the vaccine. The character of beloved Belinda, a companion to Raggedy Ann introduced in the 1920s, has been criticized for being a mammy stereotype, a racist caricature of black women. Some scholars argue that Raggedy Ann herself, with her flat white face, might have racial overtones. Some people can find fault in anything, even this doll that has come to symbolize childhood innocence. After being gifted the doll, Donna and her roommate Angie, according to some reports, began to pose the doll in various positions around the home as pranks on each other, one woman attempting to elicit a scare from the other. But these pranks soon got out of hand when the doll began to mysteriously move about the home on its own. Donna and her roommate began to find parchment paper on the floor with written messages such as, "Help me, help us." But they had no parchment paper in the house. The doll began appearing in different rooms and at one point appeared to be leaking blood. Then one day, a male friend named Lou was taking a nap and woke up with a doll staring at him. Suddenly he looked down to see bloody claw marks running across his chest. Then he felt as if invisible hands were around his throat, strangling him. After the event, the deep scratches that some refer to as psychic stab wounds remained, only to completely disappear 2 days later. The girls at first thought maybe an intruder was moving the doll around and leaving the notes. When they ruled that out, according to the Occult Museum website, not knowing where to turn, they contacted a medium and a seance was held. The girls were introduced to the spirit of Annabelle Higgins, said to be a young girl that resided on the property before the apartments were built and died there at age 7. The spirit related to the medium that she felt comfort with the two roommates in the apartment and wanted to stay with them and be loved. The roommates gave Annabelle permission to inhabit the doll, mistakenly thinking that to do so would resolve the paranormal events. But things soon got worse. Eventually, in an attempt to rid their home of the Annabelle doll spirit, Donna and Angie called on an Episcopal priest known as Father Hegan. Hegan contacted his superior, Father Cook, who in turn alerted Ed and Lorraine Ward. They came to the immediate conclusion that the doll itself was not in fact possessed, but manipulated by an inhuman presence. The Warrens wrote the following in their case file. Spirits do not possess inanimate objects like houses or toys. They possess people. An inhuman spirit can attach itself to a place or object, and this is what occurred in the Annabelle case. This spirit manipulated the doll and created the illusion of it being alive in order to get recognition. Truly, the spirit was not looking to stay attached to the doll, it was looking to possess a human host. As the story goes, Donna gave the doll to the Warrens, so they placed the doll in their car's back seat, and even after going through the back roads to avoid any accident on the highway, Annabelle supposedly messed with the brakes of the car. Lorraine claimed that their car brakes either stalled or failed several times until Ed pulled out the holy water and poured it over the demonic relic. Upon returning to the home, Ed put the doll on his desk. Shortly thereafter, the doll was seen levitating in the air above Ed's desk and freely moving about the house. Even when placed in the locked office in an outer building, the Warrens claimed that she would turn up later inside their house. The Warrens had a specially made glass and wood case constructed, one said to have had holy water mixed into the stain covering the wood, and 3 crosses attached to the case, calling upon the Holy Trinity to contain the evil spirit contained within. And they inscribed the Lord's Prayer and St. Michael's Prayer on the case. For the rest of his life, Ed would periodically say a binding prayer over the case, ensuring that the sinister spirit and the doll remained good and trapped. Since being locked up, Annabelle the doll hasn't moved again, though it is alleged that her spirit has found ways to reach out to the earthly plane. A priest from Hartford, Connecticut once visited the Warrens' home, mocked the Annabelle doll, and threw the doll across the room, proclaiming God was more powerful than the devil. On his way back to the rectory, he got into a near-fatal accident with a tractor trailer and later claimed he saw Annabelle in his rearview mirror. It is also claimed that a museum visitor rapped on the glass of the box in which Annabelle is confined and laughed at the doll. On his way home, he crashed his motorcycle into a tree along with his girlfriend. While the guy died at the scene, his girlfriend managed to survive. She revealed that they were talking and laughing about the doll right before the accident. Although the storyline of the movie Annabelle doesn't physically resemble the real-life story, Lorraine Warren and her son-in-law have been quoted as saying that dramatization doesn't bother them, as the movie still serves to warn the public about the reality of demons. As previously noted, Annabelle and other artifacts in the collection curated by the Warrens have been on tour, being displayed to fans and investigators of the paranormal. During one such event, it is alleged that Annabelle made her escape. In an article published 1 June 2025, which seems to overly inflate the theory that Annabelle went absent without leave, the New York Post reports that during one such exhibit in New Orleans, concerned citizens blamed the doll for a series of unfortunate events. The authors of the Post report wrote, "The diabolical and supposedly demonic Raggedy Ann doll fictionalized in the Conjuring movie series made a pit stop at Ghost City Tours office in the Big Easy in mid-May, the same week of a daring prison breakout and a devastating fire at a former plantation nearby. The timing led to speculation that the doll was behind the chaos, but she's safely back behind lock and key at the Warren Occult Museum in Monroe, Connecticut," owner Tony Spera told the Post. The doll was taken on a brief tour to several locations to show the doll to enthusiasts of the paranormal, Spera said. "The doll was never out of our control. We take extreme precautions when handling or transporting the doll." The precautions, which included having a Catholic priest traveling with Annabelle, apparently weren't enough for some observers who believe the doll's stint in New Orleans on May 13th and 14th was a bad omen. An inferno destroyed the historic Nottoway plantation house between Baton Rouge and New Orleans on May 15th, and the next day 10 inmates escaped from the Orleans Justice Center. Most inmates have since been recaptured. Nottoway Plantation, also known as Nottoway Resort and Nottoway Plantation House, was a historic plantation house located near White Castle, Louisiana. The home was a Greek Revival and Italian-styled mansion built for John Hampton Randolph in 1859, with 53,000 square feet of floor space. It was the largest surviving antebellum plantation house in the southern United States until it was destroyed by a fire on May 15, 2025. Some have alleged that the house burned due to the inherent evil that lurked there due to slavery. Another interesting coincidence, one involving a house fire not long after Annabelle was in New Orleans, was that of early Monday morning, May 19th, the house of New Orleans voodoo queen Marie Laveau. The house, located at the end of the French Quarter, was built in 1905 on top of the site where Marie Laveau once lived within a 19th century cottage until her death in 1881. Laveau is said to have been a successful hairdresser as well as a mystic and healer. Laveau is also said to have been a devout Catholic, and she was known to use her means and magic to help those in need. Perhaps it was wild rumors such as those promulgated by concerned parties during the time Annabelle was in New Orleans that spawned the theories that the doll was somehow connected to Rivera's death. In an apparent attempt to quell these theories and rumors, the authorities, as well as those connected to the NESPR, have stressed that the doll was not in the hotel room where Rivera's lifeless body was found. The Devils on the Run tour, the touring exhibit of the Warrens' collection of demonic artifacts, was appearing in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, hosted by Ghostly Images of Gettysburg Tours at the Soldiers National Orphanage. It had been completely sold out, selling over 1,260 tickets across 3 days on the weekend of Friday, July 11th, 2025, with the visit concluding on Sunday afternoon. Adams County Dispatch scanner archives showed that firefighters and medical personnel had been called to a hotel in Gettysburg after 8 p.m. on Sunday evening for a report of CPR in progress on a male patient of Rivera's age. Adams County Coroner Francis Dutroux, whose office was conducting a death investigation, confirmed that as of Tuesday afternoon, Rivera's cause of death remained pending the results of an autopsy. Final results of that autopsy, according to the office, could take several months. Biographies for Rivera described an insatiable curiosity about the paranormal from a young age that led to Rivera founding his own paranormal investigation group after his service in the U.S. Army. That curiosity also led Rivera to attend lectures from Lorraine Warren, where biographies said Warren had taken Rivera under her wing and mentored him in the last years of her life, eventually leading to his appointment as a lead investigator for NESPR in 2011. From all accounts, Rivera was a good man, loved and respected by those who knew him. And even though the autopsy results will more than likely show that he had an underlying serious health condition, one probably missed prior to his untimely passing, Rivera will inadvertently become known as yet another victim of a mysterious doll, said to be inhabited by a malevolent spirit, the doll known as Annabelle. Those of us here at St. Michael's Journal would like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for you having taken the time to view our presentation. Please remember to click on the like and subscribe buttons and help us grow this channel so that other people can hear these messages.